Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Thomas Jefferson said, "If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done." Benjamin Franklin said, "Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning." Basically, get off your duff, get to working, you've got dreams, you've got goals, you've got to do what it takes to get them. Like, subscribe, comment, show what your opinion is. Let me know if you like what you've seen. And I thank you for your support. We're going to discuss the Fourth Amendment today. In case you don't remember all the words of the Fourth Amendment, it is the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, this is constantly getting violated in this nation, whether it's police doing things that they just should not do, or the new way of electronics that are able to watch you and everything that you do online, out on the street, whatnot. It's gotten to a point where the Fourth Amendment has become a suggestion, not a rule. Local governments love violating it because it's all in the name of stopping crime. Never mind the fact that you have police officers that hide away from where anybody can see them that should be patrolling the streets. You have police officers that are basically being used as revenue generation through civil asset forfeiture and tickets. And it's all done because government is best, according to some people. Well, as somebody with my belief structure, no, I don't believe government is best. The will of the people is best. And because the federal government has used tricks, that it allows local governments to get away with violating the Fourth Amendment, and then doing it in such a way that people can't afford to fight for their own property. Well, let's discuss some of that today, because this is one of our freedoms that's getting slowly taken away from us, and we need to fight for it.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this Friday. I'm Natalie Kutchko. A local business owner won her fight to get nearly $10,000 back from the federal government. She's been trying since 2020. Dan Gross spoke with a lawyer working with this case and joins us in studio now with the story. Dan.
Natalie, that business owner is Crystal Starling of Rochester. As you can see behind me, she runs a food cart business. And in 2020, Rochester police took about $8,000 from her residence for evidence while executing a warrant against her boyfriend at the time. Now, Rochester police gave that money to the DEA. The ex-boyfriend was arrested and charged, but was since acquitted. But Crystal was never charged. Her attorney, Will Aronin, tells us today that she was saving that money to help grow her business. Aronin, who works for the group Institute of Justice, explained to us today that Starling did not have an attorney when this whole thing started and couldn't respond to notices fast enough. He then said the federal government tried to keep the money, even winning a 2022 decision. Once the Institute of Justice took on her case, however, they would win in appellate court about a year later. Now that Starling got her $8,000 back, this case is not over, though. She is still seeking interest and coverage of legal fees.
But by just giving back the money, that doesn't make her whole. She's been out the money for several years now. She's entitled to interest. And also, Congress has, in passing civil asset forfeiture, they wanted to give people the ability to defend themselves. When the government fails and ends up giving up, that's a good thing. They should not spend resources, but they also have to make sure that they make the people whose money they took whole, and make sure that they were able to afford their attorney as well.
Aronin says these kind of civil forfeiture cases are becoming more common and that the U.S. Congress has recently passed protection for people in these cases. We'll have more on that on News 8 at 5. Meantime, we have reached out to Rochester Police's civil case team, USAO, and the DEA. We have not heard back from any of them yet. Reporting in the studio, Dan Gross, News 8.
Civil asset forfeiture, one of the most misused things that the federal government does. Let's see, what does it fund? Why are they taking the money? Let's start with that. Let's follow the trail a little bit here. They use it for drug and alcohol treatment facilities, transportation to drug treatment services, naloxone, job skills programs, youth programs, after-school programming, a plaque for a law enforcement officer killed in the line of duty, school resource officer salaries, bomb sniffing canines, 911 call center equipment, care for abused and rescue animals seized for forfeiture, gun buyback programs, personal protective equipment for first responders. All of this, plus there's more, are why the government needs to seize the money. And it's supposedly to punish criminals, to deter illegal activity, to disrupt criminal organizations, to remove the tools of the trade for criminals, to return assets to victims, to protect communities. This is what the FBI says. But if local and state law enforcement collaborate, this is from civilrights.org. If local and state law enforcement collaborate with federal agency and bypass state forfeiture laws, they can pocket up to 80% of the proceeds. 42 states, at least half the profits from seizures, including money, jewelry, cars, homes, and other seized properties, go directly to law enforcement, which is often used to make up deficits in budgets and provide for staff salary. In 26 of these states, 100% of the profits from these seizures go to law enforcement. As of 2003, only 29 states require law enforcement agencies to report how much money has been raised and on what items the money has been spent, making oversight of the practice difficult and abuses easier. So, all of this is being done to fund all of this stuff. And I could go on for hours, literally hours, listing all of the times that it has been used against private citizens, basically illegally. There are business people who have carried cash on them. Why? Because cash talks, and all the rest can bounce. Especially for my generation and older. Cash is how we like to do things. We know that checks won't bounce, or checks will bounce, and you may not have enough money on that card of yours, but if you carry cash, it's 100% certain that it'll be paid. One of the favorite locations for civil asset forfeiture, and this is no joke, is outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. These people will win money and go, well, why should I put it in the bank? Plus, they may not have a local branch for whoever they bank with. So they just take their winnings in cash. They then will be driving back home and be stopped, have their car searched, the permission will be asked, and they'll think, well, I've done nothing wrong, and they'll allow a car search, and the money is seized. No charges, and to get the money back, you have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars. Most of the time, it is more money to try to get the money back than it is to keep or to get the money. This is why this is an insidious crime, in my opinion. I mean, there is no other way. 38 states require the owner of the seized property to prove innocence. Only 6 states require the government to establish guilt for all kinds of property that may be seized. In other words, 38 states say you have to prove your innocence. And then it is pretty much guaranteed that you will have to go to court to try to get that money back even after you've proven your innocence. It's not a innocent until proven guilty. No, it's you're guilty until proven innocent so they can take your money to fund all those things plus more that I told you that's off the FBI website. It sounds good what they're funding. It really does, but it's at the expense of your rights. More than 80% of asset forfeiture cases, the owner of the property is never charged with the crime. Yet government officials can and usually do keep the seized property. This is what's going on in our country. Seriously, this is what is going on in this country. And this is just another Fourth Amendment violation. I mean, I'm having to agree with the ACLU. That's how bad it is. ACLU says police abuse of civil asset forfeiture laws has shaken the nation's conscience. Civil forfeiture allows police to seize and then keep or sell any property they allege is involved in a crime. Owners need not ever be arrested or convicted of a crime for their cash, cars, or even real estate to be taken away permanently by the government. This was meant for major criminals, drug dealers, and whatnot. Instead, it is now being used to fund all of this stuff, and you're considered a bad guy if you're fighting it. You're not a bad guy. It's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. What did I read to you about the Fourth Amendment? Research the Fourth Amendment. Research civil asset forfeiture. So let's move on to something else that is going on in this country now. There is now something called flock cameras that are getting put up in cities across America. It's going up so fast that states are barely having time to react to making laws for it. Federal government moves so slowly that they'll never make laws for it in a timely fashion. Now, let me just give you one of the cases. Espanola, New Mexico is being sued. One of the stops in a recent lawsuit, two sisters, one of whom was 12 years old, whose license plate was allegedly misread by a flock camera according to their legal complaints. Older sister was driving her Kia Optima. Younger sister was riding in the passenger seat on July 23, 2022. When they passed through an intersection where a flock camera was mounted according to complaints. The sisters alleged that the camera misread their license plate. It misread a 2 for a 7 and reported that the vehicle was stolen. Alerted to a match, the stolen vehicle, police officers stopped the sister's car. A police sergeant read the correct plate number over the phone to a dispatcher, then pulling the sisters over. But he did not wait for confirmation whether it matched the flock alert before proceeding with the traffic stop according to complaints. With a gun drawn, an officer ordered the older sister out of the car and ordered her to kneel on the pavement while another officer ordered the younger sister out, handcuffed her, and put her in the back of the police cruiser, according to the complaint. Police allegedly contacted dispatchers a second time, providing the incorrect plate number from the flock alert instead of the correct plate from the physical plate license plate before eventually providing dispatchers with the vehicle's VIN, according to the complaint. It revealed the true license plate number of the car and that a mistake had been made by flock equipment. Another one for the same city. Another lawsuit against Espanola stems from a separate traffic stop involving a 17-year-old high school student. The teenager was driving a white Toyota Tacoma truck at 11 a.m. on August 15, 2022, when police received a BOLO, be on the lookout alert, about his vehicle, claiming that it had been implicated in a series of armed robberies, according to his complaint. An officer conducted a felony stop of the teenager, ordering him at gunpoint to get out of the car and kneel on the pavement and place his hands on top of his head, as the complaint alleges. Teenager was handcuffed, frisked from head to toe, and detained until officers determined that he was not the individual wanted in connection with the robberies, according to the complaint. At that point, he was released. A lawyer for the teenager, as well as the two sisters, told IPVM, that is where I'm reading this from, that an officer issued a bolo after viewing footage from block LPR camera and mistaking the vehicle for a wanted vehicle. It wasn't even based on a license plate match. They just watched the videos. This is what is going on. And according to the Ford School at the University of Michigan, recent studies examining the accuracy of ALPRs show that they often misread license plate, leading to disastrous real-world consequences, including violent arrest of innocent people. Also, there has been several officers across the nation that have used the confidential databases to get information on romantic partners, business associates, neighbors, journalists, and others for reasons that have nothing to do with daily police work. Professional abuses includes targeting religious minorities and communities of color. These cameras are going up all over the place. Yes, they are fighting crime, but they are also causing people to get pulled over and having guns drawn on them for bad technology. Now, it's up to you. I have my opinion. I want you to study your own opinion. Whether you believe that it is okay to be videotaped everywhere you go, and then get pulled over by cops who are not even necessarily pulling you over for the reasons that they think that they're pulling you over for, or if you're connected to a police officer in any way, shape, or form, are you being monitored because you're connected to them in some way, or you're part of a group that the police don't like? Just think about that for a second. Yes, this is a great tool. If used properly, this is a great tool for police officers. Sure, I have no problem with a tool being used correctly. But how often do the police do they misuse things? Seriously, I just talked to you about civil asset forfeiture. Flock cameras are already being misused. This is just yet another way that the police can go after you without you even knowing it. If that doesn't raise privacy issues, I don't know what should. Let's move on to the FISA courts. I mean, okay, 2019. This is from the Brennan Center for Justice. Earlier this month, the Office of Director of National Intelligence released 3 redacted opinions of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, also known as FISA Court, and the FISA Court of Review. In the first opinion, the FISA Court held that the FBI's procedures for assessing Americans' communications that are incidentally collected under Section 702 of FISA violated both the statute and the Fourth Amendment. The government appealed, and in the second opinion, the FISCR upheld the FISA Court's decision. The FBI was forced to revise its procedures to conform to the court's rulings, and in the third opinion, the court approved of the revised procedures. This is what they do. They got all that information, from all that surveillance, and they had to revise. And you would think, okay, well, this was what they were doing, and they were found out, and so they did a revision. Okay, here's the Hill article. If you don't know what the Hill is, they're actually good news source. They go after Republicans and Democrats. And this is talking about this is a article from 5/19/2023. The FBI's program maintains a database of intelligence that U.S. agencies can search, but the FBI must have foreign intelligence purpose or be looking for evidence of a crime to conduct a search. The order shows that the FBI turned to the database to look into someone it believed was present at the Capitol during the January 6, 2021 attack, an inquiry that did not have any analytical, investigative, or evidentiary purpose. An analyst conducted 13 searches of people who were suspected of participating in the riot to see whether they had any foreign ties, but the Justice Department later determined it did not meet the standard required for a search. FBI officials have also searched for information on more than 100 people arrested amid the racial justice protest in June 2020. The order states that the FBI said it expected the searches to yield foreign intelligence, but the reasoning is mostly redacted. Top FBI officials, speaking on conditions of anonymity, said most of the violations were because of confusion surrounding the standards among workers. They said the agency has made significant changes, like requiring training and overhauling the computer system. Okay, so the FISA court keeps getting used against individual citizens. Now, if you're conservative and MAGA, I'm pretty sure that you would be against the searches that were done when it came to those at the January 6th incident. If you are liberal and for BLM and those groups, hey, it's being used against you too. So hey, it's a across the board, hey, let's screw everybody by not following the law. And this is what's happening in America right now. Our information is being used in ways that it is illegal to be used for by the FBI. But let's go somewhere else with this. They have also talked Google, Facebook, YouTube, all these different companies into giving up information without there being any kind of FISA court or any other kind of court documentation. The information isn't being given because of search warrants. The information isn't being given because of any kind of legal proceeding. No. They are getting information from all these different companies just because it's being handed over. These companies are more than willing to hand over your private information. Now, there comes a point where this needs to be paid attention to continuously. I will probably harp on it again and again. Why? Because this is our privacy. It's a direct Fourth Amendment violation. So, yes, all of this is happening to us right now. Now, the Fourth Amendment was put in there for many good reasons. But government on all levels continues to violate it. They violate it up until they get caught, and then they find new ways to violate it. I hate having to say that. I really do. But that's what it's come to. Our Fourth Amendment is sacrosanct, in my opinion. We now need to get to the point that we are fighting for our rights. I don't care if you don't agree with me, most of what I say, but this isn't a conservative, it isn't a liberal issue. It's a freedom issue. Our privacy should be upheld at all times. The government has shown that they are willing to violate it all the time. Now, you can sit there and argue among yourselves. I could care less about your arguing. But until we get our freedom back, your arguing is doing nothing but allowing the government to take away your rights. You sitting there and paying attention to these Pop-Tart issues when the major foundations of our freedom are being taken away. Secure them, then argue about the Pop-Tart issues. Because, ladies and gentlemen, they ain't going to fix it unless we demand it. And I don't care if you're a tree-hugging liberal. I don't care if you're a gun-toting conservative. I don't care. Freedom is freedom. And it takes us fighting for it every day. It is cliche to say that freedom isn't free, but it's the truth. If you're not willing to fight for your freedom, then what the heck are you doing with yourself? Seriously. If you don't want freedom, leave and go to some country that will allow you to be a slave. If you're wanting freedom, then fight for it. Quit arguing among yourselves. You don't think that all the many violations of our freedom should not be a all-American issue? Quit talking about skin tone. Quit talking about your sexuality. Start talking about freedom, ladies and gentlemen. Quit allowing these politicians to take your freedom away. Quit allowing these bureaucrats from taking your freedom away. I don't care what side of an issue that you're on. If you're not going to defend freedom, you're of no use whatsoever. Seriously, you're not. You're not of any use whatsoever to this country. Because Americans should be standing up for that. Y'all have a good day now. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Bye.